Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. First, I'll start off with where is Chernobyl? What is Chernobyl? Well, Chernobyl was a nuclear power plant that was located in a city called Pripyat, Ukraine. That's a country bordering Russia. It used to be part of the Soviet Union. This city was near the northern edge of Ukraine, so pretty close to Russia, not exactly on the border, but it's right up there. Um, so Chernobyl was a nuclear power plant, as I mentioned, and I am going to dive deep a little bit into that timeline of events that took place during the infamous Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster. It is one of the world's worst disasters ever to take place, and definitely one of the worst, if not the worst, nuclear power plant disaster ever. It's kind of hard to measure those because of lingering effects, which I'll get into a little bit more later on. So, Chernobyl was built in 1977. They did not know what type of nuclear reactor they were going to build. They didn't know what functions it was going to have for at least almost 10 years. In 1984, they decided it was going to be a nuclear reactor facility, and they figured out what it was going to be used for. And around that time, when they did make that decision, the Ukraine government did know that there were some issues with this facility. Um, Come around 1986, the facility's up and running. The city's booming from that business. It became kind of a new city to come to in Ukraine, and the problem started to show in 1986, in early 1986. So Ukraine still was the government was still kind of aware of the issues, and come around early April, workers started to notice some issues with safety regulations and things that just weren't being followed and things that were not adding up and definitely didn't look right to them. So that kind of leads into the big tragedy of the Chernobyl disaster, the Chernobyl meltdown, which occurred on April 26th, 1986. And that day will live on in infamy for a long time in the world, if not forever. And it was one where it was a regular day like usual, and there was a safety test taking place, but the proper precautions were not put in place, and there was a very large explosion that took place in one of the reactors of the nuclear power plant. That explosion was drastic. It was life threatening. It pretty much destroyed the whole city of Ukraine, and and the big shocker was no one knew about it for a while. No one in the world was really aware of the disaster until 3 whole days after, which doesn't seem like a lot to some people. I guess nowadays it seems like a long time because of social media. But when I first read it, I was like, oh, 3 days. And then I started thinking, think about right now a disaster like that happening, and 3 whole days later we would hear about it. It's really amazing in a negative way. It's really horrific, actually. The nuclear cloud spread all across Eastern Europe and parts of Western Russia. Went to Poland, Sweden, went all around really, and affected what there's estimates in between 5 and 10 million people between birth defects and direct death and just lineages and lineages of families that are just completely decimated and were killed off by this. Which is part of the reason why I decided not to show a lot of pictures. I do suggest that viewers look up some pictures and maybe get some of that imagery, not too much of that imagery, but in their heads, so they can kind of delve a little deeper into the imagery of this. It's very traumatic, and the whole country is definitely reeling from this disaster. In the early 90s, more cleanup started to begin, and more of the cost analysis was taking place, and it ranges in between estimates of high hundreds of millions to low billions in cleanup efforts that were taking place from the mid 80s all the way to now. And what the final solution was for the plant, or one of the final solutions was, first of all, they shut down the city. City is pretty much a no-go except for some random tours that they have throughout the city. And one of the other solutions that they had was to put a sarcophagus type of device made of cement over it. So pretty much entrap the heavily radioactive material. Um, and what this did was kind of cover up anything else that could affect the city, because most of the city is still very radioactive today. It's a very sad story. Most people in Ukraine, it's their big thing. It's their big tragedy. Not that every country needs one, but it's really unfortunate. I chose this because I've always been interested in it. I'm not interested in the death and the violence of it and the horrific things that are still going on today, but I'm interested in the logistics. I'm interested in the why. It's really it's weird that one small thing can make this thing happen, make something like this happen, and I thought that it'd be nice to inform some people if they weren't aware of things like this. There's also other nuclear disasters that have happened in the world, but this was the one that's always been. This is the popular one almost that's always been around, and I hope that you can look into it a little bit more as people and as viewers and kind of see some of the lives that were touched and harmed, and they're still going on today. As right now, 2018, there's still not 100% on all the health ailments and all the issues that are caused from Chernobyl. It just has decimated most of Eastern Europe, and a lot of people are affected by it and still can be affected by it through their family lines. So hopefully I didn't bum you guys out too much by watching this, but check out some of the pictures that are online, and definitely look into some of the imagery a little bit and realize what went down in that city. And I hope you guys have a nice night. Maybe watch a little funny cat video after this. Thank you for watching.